As children on the playground, many of us had ideas about what we wanted to do with our lives. Astronaut, explorer, or Olympic athlete are just some examples of the dreams that come with youth. The desire behind these lofty ambitions and far-off plans is a desire for freedom and control, to be in charge of your own destiny and not be held back by parents and later a boss. Freedom of choice is the reason many young athletes enter boxing. Sure, you still have to show up to training and follow a strict diet, but the creativity of combat and the control you have over your career gives plenty of leeway to fulfill your childhood fantasies, not to mention the nice paycheck to further aid that flexibility. One such man who followed his dreams and created his own path is former world champion Danny Garcia. Danny was born in Philadelphia. He grew up there with his Puerto Rican parents. His father, Angel Garcia, was a boxer, and the young Garcia idealized his father's career, believing him to be the greatest of all time. As soon as Danny turned 10, he was signed up at the local boxing gym, where he began his climb to the top of the sport. He finished his amateur career with a record of 107 wins and 13 losses. However, this wasn't his only dream. As a child, Garcia dreamed of being an entrepreneur and owning his own business. But with money tight and boxing taking up most of his time, he put that dream off to one side. Danny had to make a decision after high school: boxing or college. Instead of taking the lower risk option of perceived financial stability, he chose boxing. In this decision, he showed the natural risk-taking aptitude that comes with all great entrepreneurs. He knew he had the necessary skills to be great, but more importantly, he had the self-belief to take the leap. His professional career began in 2007 with a string of violent knockouts that highlighted his killer instinct as well as his cerebral nature. He wouldn't get his first big paycheck until 2012, when he faced Erik Morales in what was supposed to be a championship fight. But when Morales missed weight by 3 pounds, he then lost the chance to win the title and was fined $50,000. This was then awarded to Garcia, taking his purse up to $200,000, a nice figure for a guy who debuted only 5 years prior. In what was proving to be a big year financially and career-wise for Garcia, he was offered another big fight in 2012 against the UK superstar Amir Khan. Garcia showed a business-like cool in the face of Khan's ridiculously fast hands and used a clever game plan and great counters to wind up with the win. For this fight, Garcia made $520,000, over double what he made earlier in that same year against Erik Morales. It was at this point that Garcia knew that he had to get smart with his money. From a young age, one of his greatest fears was falling into the trap of the fighter who had it all, then lost it all after retirement. This fear in large part came from experience. Garcia's father, Angel, did not invest his winnings appropriately and suffered as a result. In order to combat this fear and ensure that he would never fall victim to the fighter's curse, he put together a team of close friends and financial advisors and set out planning how to invest their money wisely. Garcia has spoken at length about avoiding the flashy thrills that come with a new disposable income. Fancy cars and wild nights at the clubs only last so long. Danny could see that, and with the help of his father Angel, he sought to enter the world of real estate. In Danny's own words from a recent interview, he said, "When you're from Philly, you're always in the mix of what's going on. But I was always locked in. I knew what the main goal was. The main goal was just to be the best." Had it not been for the initial capital from boxing, Garcia would not have been able to dream about securing the kinds of investments that he currently possesses. Garcia owns multiple properties that he rents out in his old neighborhood of Juanita. He also built a boxing gym in that same neighborhood, determined to be a positive force for the close-knit community that he surrounds himself with. Garcia went on to earn $1 million in his rematch with Erik Morales, who he would once again defeat and thus retain his world titles. The years after the Morales rematch were certainly kind to Garcia. He would go on to defeat the likes of Zab Judah, Paulie Malignaggi and Jesse Vargas, adding great names to his resume and greater numbers to his bank account. He used the money from these fights to buy a barbershop in his neighborhood, start a clothing line, and he even built a recording studio. Even though it might sound like a strange purchase, the average price for an hour in a recording studio of this nature is around $500, so you can certainly see the method behind his madness. However, whether it was through him spending too much time focusing on his business ventures or simply just a bad matchup, Garcia would be defeated in 2017 by former world champion Keith Thurman, losing his welterweight title in the process. He followed this up with a TKO stoppage over the tough and rugged Brandon Rios, but was soon back to taking a bitter loss to Sean Porter for the same belts that he lost to Thurman. Some feel that perhaps Garcia should put the barbershops and demanding tenants on hold to commit to his true passion of boxing with 100% focus and dedication. You can't afford to have one foot out the door in boxing. It's just too competitive, and the physical risks increase the more time you spend recording tracks instead of running laps. His most recent bout in November 2020 against Errol Spence Jr. also resulted in a loss. But if you imagine where Danny Garcia will be in several years' time after his boxing career is said and done, who will really be winning then? His financial plan is similar to that of his style of boxing. Less flashy and high risk than some of the others in his division, but just as effective. Yes, Danny owns some nice cars and has an amazing home and splashes out from time to time, but before any of that, he laid a financial foundation that will last multiple lifetimes. Garcia to this day continues to invest in his property and other business ventures to ensure that his retirement is a comfortable one. To be planning this far ahead at the age of just 32 and to avoid the drugs, temptation and potential brain trauma that can come with a professional boxing career, Danny has shown himself to be both commendable and inspirational to many across the globe. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you did, please be sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe. I've also left some links in the description box for some of the freelancers that I've used to both start and help grow my YouTube channel, supporting things such as video editing, logo design and thumbnail creation. So be sure to check out those links in the description box and stay tuned for the next video.